When I say I genuinely don't know how to go about this, I have no idea, and it's messing with my sobriety. It hasn't yet, but I just keep thinking to myself, why would I pick this summer to take a sober journey? And at the same time, it's like, well, why not this summer? As it isn't even technically summer yet, and has already been probably the most challenging summer I've ever experienced already. It's June 10th. Is it summer? Is that a like end of May thing or end of June thing? I don't know. And is that dramatic? It might actually not be my toughest summer, considering the summers I've had, but they've been enjoyable because maybe of where I have been. I don't know, y'all. Okay. I just had my Bible, and I'm definitely about to talk to God about this because, I mean, we've been talking this whole time, but I haven't really, it's been over a week since I've really sat down with my Bible, and how it's been going. That is a kind of a long time, just in regards to how it's been going. So this is how it's been going. Over the course of this last week, I found out that my job was shutting down. A complete and utter shock, to say the least. I had plans have already, quote unquote, been solidified. I had already had an agenda of like July, what my schedule was as I was coming back, and then what my schedule would be like for the fall. So I know we haven't really gotten into my career, but I guess there's no time like the present because now I am without job. So what I have been doing for the last 4-ish years, I've been working in academia. And the same place that I have been working is the same place that I acquired my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. And this is the same place that has officially closed its doors. And we found out 2 Fridays ago and had to make all necessary arrangements to be out of those doors officially by the following Friday. So for that entire week, all of my attention has been around being at the school, retrieving things, being with people that understand the immensity of the grandeur of such shocking news. And nothing else has felt more important than being there with those people fighting. In this institution, in its 150 years, out of those 150, the last 10 is where I spent my time. So yeah, just, I think the facts around why are still yet to be completely uncovered, but I think folks are settling on attributing this closure to extreme debt. That just does not feel like enough to me. And at the same time, it feels completely still unreal. So not only am I unemployed, I'm in disbelief that something like this could even happen to such a major landmark, historic landmark in this city, and that it is even allowed to be this way. It's very hard to process the sort of like reality of it. Like, it's like I've never really felt like anything in my life has been more of like, oh, I just need to accept this fact. Like, I just have to accept it. And I'm thinking about all the other transitions in my life, whether or not that's the transition from like pre-K to kindergarten, something that I didn't have any knowledge around my so-called transition at that time. Thinking about the transition from grade school to high school, there was no sort of impossibility in my mind around that. Like I knew I was going to high school. Like I didn't think about like what happened if I didn't get into high school. I didn't think about that. From high school to college, it became a little bit, I'm thinking about all these transitions, like it became a little bit more real. Like, oh, what if I don't get into college? Like, what if I don't get into a college that I want to go to? Like, I could have gotten into college for plenty of things that were not of any interest to me and tried to figure out my way through it. But I ended up at this particular institution and it was at the bottom of my list. I tell my students all the time, because now that I had been teaching there, I had been teaching first year students who were just coming out of that transition. So now reflecting on my transition into that institution is kind of like, I cannot believe that this was the last place I thought anything about. One, because it's in my hometown. Two, because I've had a lot of my influences go through this institution, and it had changed a lot over time. And how it had changed, I feel like it was not up to par or to the standards of those people that had went through the institution. But what I soon found out after going was that it was the perfect place for me. And then I didn't leave for an additional 10 years. So I just feel like I'm constantly in disbelief of my situation. Like, how did I end up here when this was the last place I wanted to be? How did I end up loving it here, knowing that this is the last place I wanted to be? And how am I getting kicked out of here, knowing that this is exactly where I want to be, kind of? It's startling. And what I will say, as I'm reflecting, it has been very hard to be emotional, I think, about it. Considering my particular stance in it, I do not feel the most affected. Knowing that I'm also in the beginnings of my journey as a professional in this world, beginnings, I've been doing professional work for a long time, but as an educator in academia, this is the beginning for me. But seeing that this unprecedented transition has now occurred, I'm like, wow, here I am yet again at another transition and completely unprepared. But I knew I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life in this place, although it has been home for a very long time, for a considerable amount of time. I don't know if long time is the right way, what have you. Time is a whole thing. But there is this part of me that is also reflecting, as well as I am grieving. I'm reflecting on the fact that I was trying to prepare myself to find something new, to embark on a different version of myself. And now I am thrusted into making that decision with no fair warning at all. And now it is something I kind of need to do with a sense of urgency. However, inside of this grieving, I'm trying my best to not fall into a sort of depressiveness, because I know the reality of me not being there forever was something that I was already thinking about. I think that is saving me from falling into a depressive state. However, I am still unmotivated, because the grief is so large, and I am holding a sincere amount of of outrageous compassion for people whose lives are greatly impacted. I'm I'm grateful that I am kind of unscathed in a way, but I know people whose lives are greatly impacted, and I have so much compassion for that. Hence me being unmotivated to like move on. However, today is Monday. Today is the first Monday since being evicted. I'm just putting it like that. But what's crazy is even when you're evicted, you get a little bit more time than 7 days. Listen, never been evicted. It's unbelievable. And I'm just trying to really lean into my faith. Because I think the word outrageous is just the only word that feels remotely close to the depths of which I feel. But like, the way that this moment is landing in the timeline of my life is kind of remarkable. To think a year ago from now, I was just sort of like uncovering. I can actually look to see when this was. July 19th, 2023 was when I found this pamphlet from when I was getting baptized, which means as it lived in my Bible was very close to the day that I found my Bible after, if I'm 28 and I was baptized in 6th grade and I hadn't been to well over a decade, I'm gonna just say that, and really pushing 2 decades, kind of ish, a little shy of that. But to think that I was only about to uncover my Bible a year ago, and now that I have leaned so far into my faith as to take a sober summer journey to see just what type of clarity that I may come out with on the other end of August, I'm open, is what I have to say about that. I'm open to the transition of right now because it feels so aligned. Like I cannot be mad. I can be upset or angry about, the sort of 3-dimensional reality that affects, my world and like, the world of my students who I care so deeply about, my colleagues, my teachers, my mentors that I care so deeply about and who I've worked extremely close. Those sort of things infuriate me. But to think about Jalan, because at this point, I can't really think about the things that weren't considered when the institution at large decided to bow out with no grace. You know what I'm saying? They didn't care about our relationships or our students' desires or their futures. They just want them to make seamless transitions to wherever they're going to go and kind of wipe their hands. But in that same way that the lack of consideration was there, I can't hold my relationships too tightly because I will lose sight of my future and my transition, the only thing that I have even a little bit of control over. And to even say a little bit of control over is a sense of growth, because I know that this is not happening to me, it's happening for me, and apparently for a greater good. I wish I could say that with a little bit more confidence, but what I do know confidently is that I'm not orchestrating this. The only things that are within my power are like what I do right now with my time. Those are the only things. So that means, whether or not that's sitting here having this conversation with, my phone on this platform, hoping it gets to people that are also in, hard to manage predicaments. I can only hope that. And also sitting alongside of that is like, okay, do I try, is it too late for me to sort of take on YouTube as a full-time journey? Do I do that alongside of whatever this new endeavor is? Like, this isn't a journey I unfolded for us. This wasn't something that I foresaw in a million years. If I was going to take the leave, I had imagined me being the initiator of that leave, of said leave. And that's not how it worked out. So again, here we are, yet unlocking another journey. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm so eager to see where I end up at the end of August, at the end of this summer, after whatever clarity I gain that I can't fathom right now, you know. But if I'm being completely honest, I was nervous about spending another 10 years in the same place. I was nervous about putting all of my eggs into that basket and being complacent and comfortable and not going for the life that I maybe had imagined, you know, upon entering that institution. I foresaw myself doing, it's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous things, but to learn who I am today, it feels a little bit ridiculous. So also to kind of approach it in a way where I'm like, do I try to embark on that again? It feels a little ridiculous. But I had been asking God, if I am supposed to leave this place, make myself uncomfortable and try something else somewhere else with some other people, show me. And by golly, did he. Okay. I can't be mad at that. For me in my situation, I cannot be mad at that. I'm honestly glad I finally sat down and talked about that, at least to myself, because it only felt real on Friday when we were able to like get a large number of us on a Zoom call and everyone had their reflections. That was the only time that felt like there was something real happening there. There was a real break and a shift happening there. And truly outside of that space, we always call that space a bubble, and that bubble has been popped. As far as space is concerned, as far as a physical space is concerned, that bubble does not exist anymore. And I think for me, what's hard is that it almost felt like it was never real. Even the transition from being student to teacher has felt like a sort of like, how did this part of my life accelerate so fast? I've always been dealing with the imposter syndrome, having been in a leadership role in this place. And now this feels like the thing that I thought I was supposed to go through this entire time. The broke, starving artist, the, you know, like hard to get a job, but super qualified for a lot of things. And that's what I feel like it's sick, but I feel like where I'm supposed to be and where I was supposed to be a long time ago. But that long time ago, in between right now and a long time ago when I thought I was going to be feeling this way, I have acquired so much experience. I have gained so much knowledge, and I guess it's appropriate for me to be here right now. Unemployed and in disbelief, like I just cannot believe it. But I am so grateful that I feel like I've jumped over hoops to get to where I've gotten. But there has also been an ease about it that I do not take for granted at all. I really think I have put my all into understanding my position and valuing it and finding the importance in it and taking it seriously enough to give to my students. Now, my students are heartbroken. And like I said, I work with first year students. So like they just got to know this environment and have fallen in love with it, as it tends to go that way. Me, for example, I am that student. And just to think of all that they've had to endure as far as COVID is concerned, this is just another jab. It's another jab. But I also believe that they're going to be some of the strongest people this world is ever going to see. Their brains and the maturity and the resilience that is going to come into them, the strongest people this world has to see. I'm sure of it. And I just know for certain that like the spirit of our bubble, it's nothing that can pop that. What is our responsibility is to make these meetings happen again. And I'm looking forward to that time. I think I've said everything. I feel a slight chill coming over me. So I think if I come back, it's because I read something in the Word that was most necessary and profound. So I would only say, you know, I might be right back, but also this might be it. So thank you for being here with me in all stages of my transitions. If you're new here, my name is Jalon. I go by Jags, and on all platforms you can find me at Baby Bag Lady for now, as that might change. I really don't know. But here on this platform, we live for the journey and the transition. Peace.